Hi everyone, I'm Gautam aka the Seeker of Wisdom. I'm a manifestation coach, and in this video, we're going to be talking a little bit about whether or not life is fair and how it ties into manifesting. Now, before I do so, I'd like to remind you guys I am available for coaching, so I offer hourly, monthly, email, and DM coaching, along with premium coaching right now, which is basically unlimited calls and unlimited DMs. I also have two Facebook groups right now, which is a free Facebook group. I upload resources from time to time, early access to my videos, as well as you guys will get discounts for my coaching from time to time as well. I also have a paid Facebook group where I'll be answering questions exclusively, as well as hosting live sessions to interact with all the members there. Along with that, you guys will also have access to freebies from time to time as well. So this time I'm giving away my remove your third party course for free for the whole month of December. So if you guys join my paid Facebook group right now, you will get access to my remove your third party course absolutely free of charge. I also have a mailing list where I post articles from time to time, things I can't cover on an Instagram post. I'll be writing them as articles, as well as you guys will receive my latest offers for coaching. I also have a Manifest Your SP bundle, as well as a Master Yourself concept masterclass. So if you guys need any information on that, feel free to email me or DM me for more information, and I'll be happy to guide you guys on all of them. So without further ado, guys, let's get to it. So basically what prompted this video was a reel on Instagram about Matthew Perry. For those of you who don't know, he is the star who portrayed Chandler Bing in Friends. So he's really beloved by a lot of people all around the world, and I just started watching Friends season one. I'm in season two right now. I know Friends exist, and I've seen clips of it in YouTube, so I know all the characters and things like that. But I've never really actually like sat down to watch it, which I've only recently started, and I get why people really like the series. So this popped up in my feed, and I really thought this was making worth making a video for, because there are a lot of things that I feel like we can take away from this experience, and yeah, so that's why I'm making this video. So the reel was essentially about Matthew Perry talking about how life isn't fair. So just a bit of context, right? So Matthew Perry, throughout the 10 seasons that Friends ran through, so it's from 94 all the way to 2004. Matthew Perry had problems with like drugs and alcohol, basically, right? So prescribed drugs and alcohol, from what I know, those are the ones, but there might be more. I'm not sure, and I don't know the full story about this, but he went through addiction problems, basically. So if you see Friends, right, like if you don't know anything about this, like you can see like he has a lot of weight fluctuations, and this is probably because of that. And even he has openly said that he has not watched any of the seasons yet himself, because it really reminds him of those days, and like, oh, this was when I had so and so problem, this was when I had so and so problem, and so on. So for that reason, he doesn't really watch it. And so recently he's on tour promoting a book he wrote about himself and his life journey. And this was apparently in a uni, and the closing part of it was he's almost in a crying state, and like he's saying how life is not fair. And he refers to his problems as being a disease, and how he had to deal with it, and the other five, that being the other five cast members of the Friends group, didn't have to deal with it. And he really says, like, life is not fair. And I thought that was really interesting, the way he phrased his addiction problems as being a disease, and how the others didn't have to go through it, and he had to kind of cope with that throughout the whole series of Friends, probably. And so like, I had my views on it immediately when I saw it, and I read through the comments. Some agreed with him, some really put out their loving messages for him, some really called him out, saying how he was responsible for his own actions, and some defended him, saying hey, these are addiction things, like, what do you know what addiction, have you been through an addiction before, and so on and so forth, right? And I really wanted to talk about it from a manifesting perspective. And even before I go on to any of that, I just want to say, like, I have nothing against this person. I love his work as Chandler Bing. I think it's one of the stronger characters in the Friends series. And it was really heartbreaking, to be honest, to see someone really go through all of that, and really you know for him to feel, he's 53 right now, and for him to feel like life is not fair and whatnot. Like, I really feel very bad for him. And yeah, so knowing what I know about manifesting, I obviously had my own views on it, right? So I really want to just talk about that, and how, like, if many people out there think like life isn't fair for them. And even in the manifesting community, we have always seen like some people saying, how can XYZ person manifest their SP very quickly and I don't get to manifest my SP? It takes months and years, sometimes it's not fair, right? So this is what I really want to talk about essentially. Now, do I agree with Matthew Perry's statement about how his life wasn't fair? I actually disagree. With all due respect, I actually disagree. Because at the end of the day, we are all given the same power to create, and how we go about it is up to us, right? So if you look at all six co-stars of, like, all the stars of Friends, right? I think at one point their salaries were different, but I think it was David, who actually said, the character who plays Ross, he actually said that they wanted like equal pay for all of them, and everyone got paid equally throughout the seasons. And if you don't know anything about sitcoms or whatsoever, these people get paid ridiculous amounts. I'm not sure how much everyone got paid per episode, but like I definitely know it's in the tens and thousands of dollars. So this is definitely something that everyone had a lot of money, and this is something that a lot of people in the comment section of the reel were commenting, like how it's so funny how he was talking how life isn't fair when he got paid thousands of dollars for like his work in Friends basically, right? And he got to finish it as well, because if you know other sitcoms with actors having like drug issues and stuff like that, like Charlie Sheen, right, that for 2.5 Men it completely went off rails after that. So like in that way, the fact that he's saying life isn't fair, there were several advantages for him, right? So what I'm trying to say is that at the end of the day, it's not as bad as he portrays it to be, in my opinion at least. And two, I also think and I firmly believe that we are responsible for everything that happens to us, right? As much as it may be a very bitter thing to kind of grasp and to kind of wrap our mind around and so on, it may not be the easiest of things, right? But I firmly believe that we are responsible for everything that happens to us, and even the so-called accidents, right? Somewhere our mind just absorb things without any resistance, and as a result of that we go through things. Now, is it unfortunate? Absolutely. But can we also change it? Do we have the power to do so? Absolutely, 100%. And that is what this is all about. Is, yes, you may not be able to pinpoint, okay, which thought made you manifest the unpleasant event and whatnot. That's fine, right? But you do have the power and ability essentially to change your life, to alter the course of your life through the power of your thoughts. That is a fact, right? As the saying goes, like, if I'm born poor, that's not my fault, but if I die poor, that is my fault. So essentially what I'm trying to say is that accountability helps us to take ownership of our lives and to propel it in a direction that we see fit. Because saying that life isn't fair, or saying that life is happening to me, that others are having it better than me, truth be told, there's nothing good is going to come from it, right? Rather, you can say, okay, like, it's all on me to improve my life and to change myself, and I'm going to do everything that it takes to improve myself basically. And if you come at it from that perspective, you're going to feel more empowered. You're actually going to be taking steps to actually improve your life. And it all begins with thoughts. So if someone is saying that life isn't fair, or someone is constantly victimizing themselves, I bet you guys that their inner dialogue is probably dominantly super duper unfavorable, right? They are either constantly beating themselves up, they are probably envious of others, and they are constantly repeating the story or this narrative of how life is unfair, which means they see themselves in a certain way, and the way they see themselves may not be favorable, because they seem to think like no matter what they do, the tide is always against them, and so on and so forth. Now, I know all these things. Why? Because I used to be that kind of a guy when I was like much younger, in my teenage days. I always used to think life was a struggle, and even my parents noticed that. And it's only up until like the most recent years that I had to take charge of my own life and really steer it in a direction that is both adventurous and also exciting, and it's also uplifting. Like if I tell you, like if you know my personal life, like I would say like I went through a very tough period from like say 2016 all the way till like 2019 2020, and that changed my entire trajectory of my life. And prior to that, even in my childhood, I had to go through a lot of things, and I'm not going to be sharing the details here because it's kind of irrelevant at the moment. But what I'm saying is that I understand when some people say that life is not fair, because I used to have that narrative. But one thing that I noticed upon reflecting back on all those times was, every time when I accepted the idea that life is actually unfair, or that some others have it way better than me and things like that, in my mind I was beating myself up. It was not helping my situation in any way. In fact, if anything, I was probably prolonging it, right? Of course, I didn't know about manifesting and conscious thoughts and the power of thoughts and all that kind of stuff, but it was still me nonetheless, right? Like gravity, whether or not you know about the law, it still keeps working. And that was why it probably was happening. And then I had to take charge of my life at one point, and I started to become more responsible, and I started to turn the tide. And there were ups and downs, like I'll be the first one to admit it. But at the end of the day, right now, when I look back at my journey, I don't blame anyone but me, right? Everything that happened was done by me in one way or another. So I really see that, and what it does for me is that I'm not holding on to anything. I'm not holding on to any grudge, right? I'm not holding on to any resentment towards anyone or anything, right? I saw it as, okay, it was all my doing. And what that does is, one, allow me to forgive myself, right? And therefore I make peace with the past, therefore allowing me to just move on from it and disassociate from it, right? The people who often victimize themselves, or who say that life isn't fair, they are too attached to the past. And this is what in the manifesting community folks do as well, especially when it comes to things like SP or with money and things like that, is folks are really attached to their past stories. And when you're attached to your past stories, it means that the old narrative, the old unfavorable narrative, is still ingrained in your mind, which is why you're unable to let go of it. Now, what do you have to do in order to detach yourself from this? You have to change your story, right? You have to change your story. It's as simple as saying, yes, that happened to me, right? But you know what? It's all in the past, and I had a huge role to play in all of that, and I recognize that right now. I make peace with it. I forgive myself for creating that, for manifesting that into my life right now. But I, as the operant power, don't have to prolong it by sticking to that narrative still. Reality is fluid, reality is constantly shifting, things can change very quickly for me. So I'm going to, snap out of it and change my reality for the better, right? And if you come at it from that perspective, think about how much it empowers you. Think about all the good that it does for you, right? You will recognize, like, hey, my goodness, like right now, like once I have started to take charge of my life, I'll feel better. I have more favorable, positive inner dialogues with myself, and things are looking up for me. That's what you will feel like. It may not be within a day or two, but as you continue this, right, you will feel much, much better. If you stop comparing yourself with others, if you just focus on your vision, if you just maintain favorable inner dialogue, right, and if you are constantly assuming the state, from the the end state, the desired state, right, you will feel loads better. You won't feel like you're a prisoner of your past, right, but rather you will feel like a welcoming guest of your future, your desired reality. And that's what we want to feel. We don't want to be held back by the past, and we certainly don't want to be comparing ourselves to others. And I just previously discussed it with my other video as well. So don't go out there thinking that life is not fair, because that narrative is not going to help you or anyone for that matter. It's a very repelling kind of narrative, right? If someone comes and tells me, what, life is unfair and things like that, I'm often kind of repelled by that, right? Because accountability is something that is super important. right? Okay, yes, certain things may have happened in the 3D that may seem like it's not your fault, and you may feel like you had nothing to do with it. But I think accepting, okay, somewhere my thoughts created this reality, and seeing, okay, which of my thoughts could have possibly created it, and changing it, and therefore manifesting a better future for yourself takes nothing, right? It takes no physical effort from you, it costs nothing, right? And in fact, it has all the benefits in the world for you, so why not try it, right? So that's the perspective that I come from. Yes, whatever you went through may indeed have sucked, but thinking about that, and claiming that life is unfair isn't going to help anyone at the end of the day, right? And I think like just recognizing that itself will really help you guys to change the trajectory of your life. And you can look at people who changed their life for the better. One thing that they did was they were accountable. Like, one of the prime examples that comes to my mind right now is Robert Downey Jr. He too went through a lot of different things, and he eventually was in prison for a bit, and then he came out, and rest as we know it is history, right? So he was, I think, the highest paid actor at one point. I think it was like 2015 or 16, right, at his career's peak, during the Marvel Cinematic Universe and whatnot. And that's a story where he changed the trajectory of his own life. He could have said that, what, my dad introduced me to drugs, like I wasn't like even aware of what it means and things like that. But what he did was take accountability for his actions at one point, and decided to change the trajectory. He decided to focus on his strengths, acting, his passion, right? And that like changed the course of his life. And that's what I want you guys to do, is to focus on your strengths, focus on your self concept, see the positive side of you, and use that to propel yourself and build up that momentum from there. Notice all your strengths. That's why I always tell my clients to write down all of your achievements from childhood all the way till present day right now, and see it like literally, like, see it on a piece of paper. Because when you do so, what's going to happen is that you're actually like recognizing that, hey, these were the things that I actually did, and it really boosts your morale. And when you come at it from that perspective, when you determine to improve your like your self concept, and to really uplift yourself and to change your reality for the better, your thinking changes as well. And whatever you are feeding into your mind is what is going to be regurgitated on the outside. So your reality automatically becomes better as a result. And so I'm not saying that oh, just change your thoughts and you're going to be fine. Like, I mean, there's like much more nuance to that than that. But like, what I'm trying to say is that stop victimizing yourself. And whether or not like life is fair, like it's what you make it to be. It's really what you make it to be. If you think life is unfair, it's going to show the evidence for that. If you think life is fair, or that you were blessed and you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth, that's what your reality is going to reflect. The real question is, what are you going to tell yourself? What is the narrative that you're going to feed into your mind? And I just saw a post from Candace, and I think it was something along the lines of how easy, like, and grace and things like that are the words that we use to describe life, right? There are a few other words. This is not coming to my mind at the moment, but I really resonated with that post, and I'll try to link it in the description if possible, because like I really really like dig that post, because I felt like those are the kind of words that we should use to describe our life, rather than saying life is hard, unfair, the world is cruel. Those narratives aren't going to help anyone. And granted, society sometimes tries to push that narrative to us, right? And to kind of keep us in that perpetual cycle of like work and debt and so on and so forth. Snapping out of it and recognizing that our reality is what we make it to be is really powerful. It's really freeing, to be honest. So if I were you, like I would definitely change the narrative that I'm telling myself, and I would start saying that life is always easy for me, life is a breeze for me. I'm born with a silver spoon in my mouth, everything gets handed to me on a silver platter, and things like that. And really make this journey as easy as I can for myself, and just embrace everything, right, that comes from there. because life is meant to be enjoyed. It's not like, if as much as possible you don't want to, be working hard and things like that. It's more about making it a breeze for ourselves and enjoying life and making the most out of every single moment. And it all starts with your thoughts, right? So change your thoughts, right? Come at it from the perspective that things are always easy for you and so on, and watch your life change. Guys, we have come to this end of this video. If this video resonated with you, be sure to drop a like and a comment down below. Turn on your bell notification so that you guys will know when I upload a new video every single week. Stay safe, guys, and happy manifesting. Peace.